"What the hell are you doing with my father, Maya?" The words exploded through the grand marble foyer like a shotgun blast. Ethan Whitmore stood tall and furious, his expensive leather shoes striking the floor with authority as he stormed across the room. His sharp gray suit clung to his broad shoulders, and his blue eyes, usually cold and calculating in boardrooms, were now blazing with raw rage. Across from him, Maya William froze. She was seated on the edge of a leather armchair, holding Harold Whitmore, Ethan's frail 7-6-year-old father, who was hunched over in visible distress. One of Maya's hands gently supported his trembling shoulder. The other reached for a glass of water on the end table. Her eyes met Ethan's wide and startled. "I said, what the hell are you doing?" he roared again, closing the distance. Harold tried to speak, a weak son, wait, barely escaping his cracked lips. But Ethan didn't wait. "You think you can just touch him like that?" Ethan snapped, eyes cutting through Maya. "You think being a housemaid gives you the right to get that close to him?" "I was helping him," Maya stammered, voice shaking. He was choking. "I was giving him water, trying to calm him down. He said he felt dizzy. And don't lie to me." Ethan snarled, pointing a rigid finger toward her. "I saw your hand on his chest. You're a damn opportunist, aren't you, Ethan?" "Please," Maya said, standing now, backing away a step, palms raised in instinctive defense. "I would never disrespect Mr. Harold like that. He's been like a father to me."
"Oh, that's rich,"
came another voice, smooth and icy. Camilla Whitmore had entered the scene from the stairwell. A silk robe cinched tight over her toned frame, a wine glass in hand, and a perfect mask of sympathy stretched across her face. "I've been warning you about her," she said, descending the stairs with calculated calm. "She's been spending way too much time alone with him, whispering things, taking liberties. Now you see it yourself." "That's not true," Maya protested, voice firmer now. "I never." "Oh, save it," Camilla snapped, waving her hand like swatting a fly. "Don't pretend like we don't know what this island." A poor little girl from South LA seduces an old man with a legacy, hoping to secure herself a fortune. "No," Maya gasped, visibly wounded. "What?" "No, Mrs. Whitmore. You know I've done nothing but serve this household with honesty and respect. You call throwing yourself at my father respect?" Ethan's voice cracked with contempt. Then, in one swift movement so fast it surprised even him, Ethan stepped forward and struck her across the cheek. A sickening smack echoed off the marble walls. Maya stumbled back a step, clutching her face in shock, eyes flooding with tears that refused to fall. Her chest rose and fell with shallow breaths as silence choked the room. Harold let out a weak moan from the chair. "Ethan, you want respect," Ethan hissed. "Try earning it instead of crawling into my father's lap like some desperate." "Ethan, stop," Maya whispered hoarsely, eyes brimming now. "Please, you don't know what's happening here. I've seen enough," he growled. "Pack your damn things. You're done here."
"Out, but sundown."
Maya swallowed hard. For a moment, she looked like she might collapse. Then, trembling, she fell to her knees. "Please, please don't do this," she said. "I know how this looks, but I swear on everything I have, Mr. Harold is being hurt. He didn't want me to tell you." But Maya's voice faltered as she looked up at Camilla. She yells at him. Sometimes she locks him in his room. I've seen her pour wine down his throat just to keep him sedated. Camilla's face pale instantly. "That's a lie," she barked, her composure slipping. "She's lying. Ethan, don't listen to her. She's just trying to save herself. This is exactly what she wants. If you feel the pain and strength of the character, please like this video and leave a comment with the place you are watching from. You may find others nearby watching with you too." Maya clutched Harold's hand. "Please ask him. Ask your father if you just talk to him. That's enough." Camilla cut in quickly, her voice rising now. She rushed to Harold's chair, placing herself between him and Maya. "You've done enough damage, Ethan. We need to get Harold out of here. He's clearly distressed. Let's take him to the lake house for the weekend. Get him away from all this toxicity." Ethan looked down at Maya, still kneeling on the floor, her face flushed with shame, her body trembling from the slap, her voice broken with desperation. And yet, somewhere in his chest, an unease began to take root, a flicker of something he couldn't name. Maya met his eyes one last time. Her voice, barely audible, carried one sentence. "Sometimes the truth doesn't knock, it bleeds." Then she turned away, standing with quiet dignity. Despite the tears running down her cheek, Ethan said nothing. Camilla looped her arm through his and said softly, Let's go, darling. Let's get your father somewhere peaceful. As they walked away, Harold turned his head slowly, reaching one frail hand toward Maya. He tried to speak again, but no words came. Maya stood there alone in the silence, watching the people she had protected walk away. That was the moment something shifted in Ethan's soul. But he wouldn't realize it until later, not until the truth began to burn. As soon as the front doors closed behind Ethan and Harold, Camila spun around with venom in her eyes. Her heels clicked furiously against the floor as she stormed toward Maya, who was still standing in a daysays. Without warning, Camila grabbed a handful of Maya's hair, yanking her head back roughly. "You little witch," she hissed into Mia's ear. "You think you can just hint at something and crawl your way into his head? I will ruin you." "Stop, please," Mia whimpered, frozen in place. Camila leaned closer. "You speak one more word to Ethan. One more, and I'll make sure your record's so dirty, you'll never get another job in this damn city. I'll drag your name through the mud. You'll be nothing. Do you understand me?" Maya blinked back tears, nodding slowly. Camila released her with a shove. "You should have stayed in your place." Then she turned on her heel and walked away, the sound of her footsteps growing smaller as she disappeared into the upper hallway. Minutes later, the staff began to gather, curious glances exchanged between them as whispers bloomed like weeds in the air. "I heard she tried to seduce Mr. Whitmore," murmured one of the maids. "Are you serious?" said another. "I always thought she was quiet, respectful. But who knows, she did spend a lot of time alone with the old man." Maya heard every word, but she said nothing. She walked to the back of the hall, collapsed onto a bench near the servants' exit, and finally let the tears fall. Not the quiet kind, but the kind that breaks your ribs from the inside. The kind you cry when you're not just humiliated, you're betrayed by the very people you protected. And for the first time in years, Maya William cried like a child. The last rays of the California sun bled through the sky, casting a molten amber light over the estate. In the shadow of the Whitmore mansion, Maya Williams sat motionless in the front seat of her old Honda Civic, her fingers trembling on the steering wheel. Her duffel bag lay beside her like dead weight, her cheek still stung from the slap. But what hurt more wasn't the violence. It was the look in Ethan Whitmore's eyes, like she was nothing more than dirt on his polished floor. She had seen it before. That look in schools, in clinics, in job interviews, and now here, where she had scrubbed floors, wiped tears, and cared for a man no one else wanted to touch. She looked back at the house, so big, so cold, so full of secrets. I should leave, she thought. I should drive away and never come back. But then she saw Harold's face in her mind, frail, frightened, and whispering. "You are the only one who saw me." Her chest tightened. If I leave, who's going to protect him? Who's going to stop her? Her hands clenched the steering wheel. She had every reason to disappear. No one would blame her, and yet she couldn't. She opened the car door, stood up, and stared at the towering home one last time before slipping into the side entrance. The servants' hallway was quiet. Most of the staff had finished their shifts. She moved quickly, ducking into the security room near the kitchen. The room was locked, but Natalie had once told her where the spare key was kept for emergencies. This was an emergency. Inside, the room hummed with electricity. A dozen screens blinked. Maya sat down, heart pounding, and rewound the footage from the past week. What she found made her hands go cold. Camila pouring wine down Harold's throat while yelling. Camila dragging him down the hallway by the arm. Camila screaming, "Sign the damn papers, you old fool." Before I lose my patience, Maya copied the clips onto a flash drive, handshaking. She didn't know exactly what to do with it yet, but she knew one thing. This couldn't stay hidden. As she turned to leave, she heard the shuffle of shoes behind her. She spun. Ethan was standing in the doorway, his brow furrowed. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. Maya hesitated. "I needed to make sure he was okay." "You were told to leave." Maya pulled the flash drive from her pocket and held it out. "I found something you need to see." He stared at it, suspicious. "What is that?" "Proof that your wife has been abusing your father and trying to steal his estate." Ethan froze. "That's a serious accusation." "Then watch it," she said, "and ask yourself why your father keeps crying when no one's looking." He hesitated, then took the drive. The following morning, sunlight streamed gently through the windows of the Whitmore estate, but the morning did not bring peace. It brought clarity with teeth. Ethan had not slept. He had sat at his office desk under the jeweled chandelier of a house that seemed suddenly unfamiliar and watched the security footage once, then again, then a third time as shame seeped into his bones like ice water. The images were irrefutable. Camilla's hand on Harold's jaw, forcing the lip of a crystal glass against his trembling mouth, the clench of her fingers around his upper arm, leaving pale imprints on liver, spotted skin, the way she leaned close, voice distorted by the microphone but unmistakable in its venom. Sign the papers. He paused the frame and stared at his father's eyes, cloudy, pleading, lucid for the second it took to look toward the camera, as if he knew someone might one day need proof. He thought of the slap, the sound of it, the shock on Maya's face. He had not been a good son last night. He had been a weapon wielded by the wrong hands. He was still at the desk when the butler, Mr. Green, knocked softly. "Sir, Mrs. Whitmore asks if you're coming to the lake house. The car is ready." Ethan closed the laptop. "Where is my father?" "In his suit, sir. Mrs. Whitmore has prepared his medication. I'll handle it," Ethan said, voice measured. After Green left, Ethan slipped the flash drive into his pocket and walked upstairs, each step an argument with gravity. At the door to Harold's suite, he heard clinking glass, liquid glug. He opened the door without knocking. Camilla stood at the bar cart back to him, in a white blouse and soft slacks that said, "Angelic," when her eyes said anything but, "Darling," she said with bright surprise, turning. "We're late. Help me with your father." Ethan's gaze flicked from the half-filled tumbler to the bottle of digestif. She liked to call his tonic. An expensive brandy she'd insisted calmed Harold, suppose. Sundowning. His jaw tightened. "No brandy," he said evenly. "It's not brandy," she lied smoothly. "It's a herbal. I've seen the footage." Her smile collapsed in slow motion, then rearranged itself into something brittle. "What footage?" "From the security room. Multiple dates, times." He stepped closer. "Do not give my father alcohol, not now. Not ever again." For a moment, something feral flashed in Camilla's eyes. Then she set the tumbler down and lifted her hands, palms out. "I understand you're upset. She's poisoned you against me." "No," Ethan said quietly. "You did that yourself." A soft sound came from the bed. Harold, propped against pillows, watched them with the cautious hope of a child who hears adults speak kindly for once. Ethan crossed to him. "Dad," he said, kneeling, "did she force you to sign anything?" Harold's lips moved. The effort cost him, but the words reached the surface. "Trust change," he rasped. "She wants lake papers." The lake house. The scene of many Whitmore family summers. Also the scene, Ethan now suspected, of a planned ambush with a notary. Ethan squeezed his father's hand. "We're not going to the lake today," he whispered. "We're going to the doctor." He looked back at Camilla, who had already recovered her poise. "Of course," she said. "If that's what you want." Then, with a glance sharp enough to cut through silk, "We'll go together." "No," Ethan said. "I'll take him alone." Her laugh was thawed ice. "Don't be ridiculous. I am his wife." A beat stretched taut. Ethan straightened. "And I am his son." He pressed the call button at the bedside. When Mr. Green appeared, Ethan's voice turned executive. "Have the car brought around. Quietly, tell the staff no one is to pack for the lake. And please call Dr. Menon's office. Tell her we're on our way." Camilla moved to block him. "Ethan," she said, voice honeyed, "if you do this, you will regret it." "I already do," he said, and walked past her. Dr. Menon's clinic smelled of eucalyptus and ethics. She had treated Harold for 8 years. She knew what the progression of age looked like and what it didn't. After the exam, she asked Ethan to step into her office. On the desk lay a small clear vial and a folded report. His vitals show dehydration and lowered blood pressure, she said carefully. "But what concerns me is the liver enzyme spike, and this," she tapped the vial, "is a blood sample that tested positive for ethanol this morning." She held his gaze. "Ethan, has anyone been giving your father alcohol?" Ethan's throat felt dry. He nodded once. "I have video." Her mouth tightened. "He's at risk for aspiration, confusion, a fall. He should not be left alone with anyone who might impair his judgment. I can arrange a neutral nurse, a licensed professional, until we stabilize him." She paused. I can also notify Adult Protective Services if you wish. Images of scandal headlines flashed behind Ethan's eyes. CEO's wife investigated. Whitmore family implodes. But the word that mattered most was not CEO, it was son. Do it, he said, quietly if possible. But do it. When they returned to the car, there was a text waiting on Ethan's phone from an unknown number. You're making a mistake. Turn around. See, Ethan put the phone face down and looked at Harold in the rear seat, the old man's head tipping toward the window, his breath fogging the glass. We're going home, Ethan said softly. But not the way she planned. Maya spent the morning packing what little she owned: a pair of jeans, a stack of serviceable shirts, 2 framed photos, one of her mother outside their bungalow, one of the Whitmore gardens at dawn that she had taken on a good day. The duffel was lighter than it had felt last night. That's what resolve did. It emptied fear of its weight. She had left the flash drive in Ethan's hands. Her work was done, she told herself. She would collect her last paycheck and go. Go where? Was a question she could not afford to ask yet. She was zipping the bag when the door opened without a knock. Natalie, the head housekeeper, stepped in, eyes red-rimmed. You're still here, she said, not unkindly. For now, Maya replied, forcing a smile. Natalie glanced toward the hallway, then closed the door behind her. I shouldn't say this, she whispered, but I saw Mr. Ethan leave with Mr. Whitmore. Without Mrs. Camilla. People are unsettled. Maya's heart ticked faster. Thank you, she said, for telling me. Natalie hesitated. There's more? Someone came asking for you. A man tall. Looked like security, but not ours. He had a badge, but he covered it with his thumb. A chill crept up Maya's arms. What did he want? To know where you keep your phone, your key. I told him I didn't know. Natalie squeezed Maya's hand. Be careful. After she left, Maya took her phone from her pocket to call her brother, Louis, and found the screen spider webbed. It had cracked when she fell last night. It still turned on, but the microphone was dead. She had learned that at 3 a.m., when her whispered call to Louis produced only static. The repair shop in town wouldn't open until noon. She slung the duffel over her shoulder, tucking the 2 photos into the side pocket, and stepped into the corridor. If Ethan believed her, he would act. If he didn't, Camilla would. Maya had to assume the latter. She headed toward the service exit and stopped short. The elevator light was on. Voices drifted around the corner, male, low, unfamiliar. Maya turned on her heel and took the stairs down to the laundry level, slipping between industrial washers to the exterior door that led to the gardens. She eased it open. Sunlight poured over the clipped hedges and classical statuary. The garden paths were laid like chessboards. She knew them as well as she knew the hallways inside. She chose the side path behind the orangery and moved quickly, staying low, until she reached the edge of the staff parking lot. Her Honda waited like a friend who didn't ask questions. She was halfway to the driver's side when a black SUV nosed in from the street and blocked her lane. The driver's window rolled down. A man in a dark windbreaker leaned out. Maya William, he asked smoothly. She stopped. Who's asking? Courier, he said, holding up a clipboard. Severance paperwork from Whitmore Holdings. Sign and you can collect today. Her intuition snapped taut. Then you can leave it with HR, she said, and turned. The passenger door opened. A second man stepped out, not a courier, square, stubbled, with a gaze like a dull knife. Just a signature, he said, walking toward her. Mrs. Whitmore wants to make sure you're taken care of. Maya's feet moved before thought did. She lunged for the driver's door, yanked it open, and threw herself inside. The stubbled man's hand landed on the door edge. She slammed it into his fingers. He yelped. She twisted the key. The engine coughed to life, and she reversed hard, tires squealing on the asphalt. The SUV fishtailed to block her. She cut left, bounced over the curb, and shot through a gap in the hedges that gardeners used to haul compost. The Civic skidded onto the service road. In the rearview mirror, the SUV paused, then gave chase. Come on, girl, Maya told the Civic, as if the car were a living thing in need of faith. The road dipped toward the old west gate, long kept padlocked for deliveries the family no longer received. 2 stone pillars flanked the rusted iron. She tucked the wheel and aimed for the narrow shoulder where the fence had a shallow bend. The Civic scraped. The side mirror snapped off, but but the car spat free onto the lane outside the estate, just as the SUV screeched to a stop on the other side of the fence. She didn't breathe until she was 6 blocks away. Only then did she realize her hands were shaking so hard she could barely hold the wheel. She pulled into a strip mall and parked in front of a phone repair kiosk. 15 minutes. The teenager behind the counter said after peering at her shattered screen. Cash discount. Do it. Maya whispered, glancing over her shoulder at every bell jingle. While she waited, she borrowed the shop's landline. Louis answered on the 3rd ring, his voice sleepy. He worked nights stocking shelves at a grocery, slept mornings in a studio he shared with dreams and sometimes roaches. Hermana? I'm okay, she said, before he could panic. Listen to me. If anyone asks about me, you don't know anything. Don't open the door unless it's the landlord. And, can you go stay with Tia Alma for a couple days? What happened? He asked, fully awake now. Maya, I'll explain when I can. Please, just do this for me. He was silent for a beat that contained years of sibling trust. Okay, he said, I'm packing a bag. Be careful. When she hung up, her repaired phone vibrated with a new message from an unknown number. A still shot of her Civic in the staff lot, the angle grainy and low, like a camera tucked under a bumper. The clip was only 2 seconds long, but the message was clear: we can see you. Maya swallowed her fear and texted a single person, Ethan. She typed fast. They tried to stop me from leaving. 2 men in a black SUV said they had severance. I think Camilla sent them. Be careful. There was no response. She didn't wait for one. She paid in cash, slipped out the side door, and headed for the only place she knew that would be both public and quiet, St. Martin's Church, 5 miles away, where volunteers served lunch to anyone who showed up and the priest knew her name without asking for it. Back at the estate, Ethan returned from the clinic with Harold and the neutral nurse. Asha, mid-40s, crisp-eyed, the kind of woman whose presence lowered a room's heart rate. He had expected a confrontation at the door. Instead, the foyer sat polished and empty, the house holding its breath. Mr. Green met them and directed Asha to Harold's suite. Sir? Green said delicately, drawing Ethan aside. There were men on the grounds earlier asking for Miss William. They were not ours. We asked them to leave. Cold anger unfurled in Ethan's chest. Where is my wife? In her sitting room. With an attorney. Which one? Mr. Dalrymple. What Dalrymple? The Whitmore family's fixer. Not the kind of lawyer you called if all you planned to do was reconcile. Ethan headed for the 2nd floor sitting room, knocked once, and entered. Camilla sat on a chaise in a dove, gray dress, bare feet tucked beneath her like an actress between takes. A small man with careful hair stood when Ethan entered and extended a hand he had no intention of letting go if he could avoid it. Ethan, he said warmly. Good to see you. I was just discussing some housekeeping matters with Camilla regarding the family trust. Were you planning to discuss them with the family, too? Ethan asked, not taking the hand. Dalrymple let it fall. Of course, we were going to propose a clarification of roles. Given Harold's condition, Camilla needs more latitude to make day-to-day decisions. Harold's doctor just recommended adult protective services, Ethan said flatly. He watched the ripple go through Dalrymple's expression, subtle but unmistakable. So the only latitude she'll be getting is a restraining order, if she so much as pours him a glass of water again. Camilla's face didn't change. Her voice did. It dropped a register. You are out of your depth, darling. Your father needed guidance. I provided it. And unless you want the board to start asking where you were while he wandered the halls at night. I was building the company whose name pays for your clothes. Ethan shot back. And I suggest you pick a different threat, because the board is about to see footage of you assaulting the man whose name is on the building. Dalrymple's attention sharpened. Footage. Ethan pulled the flash drive from his pocket, then put it back. I'll be sharing it with the appropriate authorities first. Let's all take a breath, Dalrymple said smoothly. No one wants a scandal. Then stop creating one, Ethan said, looking at Camilla. Pack a bag. You're leaving the house today. Camilla's laugh this time was soft and sincere, as if he'd told a charming joke. And go where? A hotel. A friend's. Anywhere that isn't here. On what authority? On mine, he said, and turned to the door. Green will arrange a car. As he reached the hall, Camilla's voice floated after him, silk draped over steel. If you do this, I will destroy you, Ethan. You think your hands are clean? Ask Mr. Dalton about the basalt deal. Ask the compliance team about the whistleblower memo from last quarter. He stopped. He had expected fury. He had not expected the precise aim of that last arrow. He turned slowly. You'd burn your own house to ash. If I'm not allowed to live in it, she said, I might as well enjoy the fire. Dalrymple touched her elbow. Camilla, pack a bag, Ethan repeated, even as a new unease crept in under his ribs. There were skeletons in every empire. He had spent 10 years making sure they stayed in storage. If she shook the house, bones would rattle. He did not let the unease show. He walked out and texted 2 people, the head of security. Replace all gate codes today. And a man he had not texted in 3 years. Noah Rise, investigative journalist turned private ethics consultant, who had once tried to take Whitmore Holdings down and, when he failed, started charging the rich to keep them honest. Need a quiet assessment, immediate. Family matters. He hit send before he could decide it was a bad idea. On the stairs down, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. The cadence felt like Maya. They tried to stop me from leaving. He read the rest, then typed back, are you safe, where are you? And after a pause, I'm sorry.